Coming up next on the Underground Nation podcast with your host with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie, we dive into the dark, cinematic world of an artist forged through chaos, combat, and creativity, HybRED 757. Born in Spain, raised across America, and molded by military discipline, HybRED turns pain into poetry and trauma into soundscapes. With alter egos Lil Rory and Sinister Rabbit, he fuses real-life scars with horrorcore storytelling. This is more than music, it's survival art. Tune in if you dare.
Yo, what's good, fam? You tuned in to the Underground Nation podcast. It's your host with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie. And tonight, we're taking a wild ride through time, war, and raw creativity with a man who's truly lived 9 lives. From the sands of Iraq to the smoke of wildland fires, from street races to post-apocalyptic film sets, and now straight into the mic booth. Born in Rota, Spain, raised across America, and forged in both battle and art, this dude embodies resilience, reinvention, and creative warfare. With characters like Little Rory and Sinister Rabbit, he turns trauma into tales, horror into healing, and pain into power. So give it up for the multi-talented artist, storyteller, and veteran, the one they call HybRED 757. Welcome to the hot seat.
Hey, thank you. What's up, everyone?
Woo! What?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for crawling from out the darkness to hang out with us. Look, we're right on time for supper.
Most definitely.
Yes, please. Where's my utensils to dig in?
Oh, man, it's just like Jello. Jello. That's not the only serving we got. Hold on a second. How about, would you like a hand to go with that? Nicely served up.
You straight ripped that off someone's arm?
Oh, I didn't rip it off. It just happened to fall off. You know, we got these things called hot tubs. And hot tubs are more like human crock. They just fall right off the bone.
What? I'm never getting in a hot tub with you. I don't even want to think about it. You're supposed to go on vacation.
Oh,
Now
and everybody's getting cooked.
I just have to reconsider my vacation plans now. Dang it, HybRED.
Hey,
Dude,
you're welcome.
You lived in more states than most people will ever visit.
Oh, yes. Yes. So what would you like me to start?
How did constant moving shape your identity and your music?
Oh, man. So from growing up, it was constantly moving from East Coast to West Coast, and then we kind of moved to the middle and then back out to the West again. And honestly, growing up, it was pretty lonely. You were kind of like a nomad. You don't stay in school long enough to know anybody. So the few friends that I do have from my childhood, I was lucky to still stay in contact with them over, I would say, about 30 years. And then on top of that, it's only like a few friends that I have from my childhood. But past that, it got me to understand the world a little bit better. You get out and you get to see things. Even though you're going from school to school and you don't really have time to get to know anybody, you kind of don't want to get to know anybody after a while because you're just like, I'm just going to be here for a minute and I'm out, you know? And you don't want to go through the pain of having to keep breaking up with the friends that you'll never see again. So as a child, you kind of shut that off. You kind of block it out. And then as you get older, the good thing about this is you get to know the different areas. I got to see the state parks and the rivers from New Jersey to the movie sets out in the Wild West of Nevada to riding horses out in the plains of Wyoming. And it was just amazing to be able to go to all these different places and see and meet different people. But again, you kind of like stay to yourself.
That's a lot of moving.
It is.
I would imagine you would come across a whole lot of people.
Oh, yes. My mom is kind of an interesting woman in a way. So not only was we moving, I was pretty much raised by my mom. And moving from state to state, it would kind of depend on if she was seeing somebody at that time, getting married. She's like on her 7th or 8th marriage right now. And so you get to kind of know different people as they come into your lives, and you have some really good men that are out there, and then you have some really abusive men that are out there. And there's some stuff that you'll find in my music where you hear the abusive men, where I kind of go after them with Sinister Rabbit. Or from when I was, I want to say about 5 years old, my step siblings that I had, that was definitely not a good relationship. especially when I was 5 and my stepsister, she was about 14, 15. And I actually put that into a song and got it out in the song. I'm not going to put it here. So you're going to have to listen to that song.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah. And trust me, it's kind of crazy. What I will say is that's the day that Sinister Rabbit gets born, because that's when he became my protector. That's when he turned into the savior for me. And whenever I got into fights, and I got into a lot of them was because I was a redhead. And so it's like, you ever see those movies that where you have the redhead kid getting beat up, or the redhead kid that's always the bully in some situations, like the Christmas Story, you know?
You described growing up as the red-haired ghost.
Yeah, pretty much.
How did that outsider feeling evolve into your persona of HybRED 757?
What's that?
I mean, how did that outsider feeling evolve into your persona of HybRED?
Oh, because, all right, so HybRED is kind of a mix of a whole bunch of things that I have taken in from all over. And from growing up, I was supposed to be...
So you're a shapeshifter?
I can shape into many shifts. All right, how did that go? Nope, shift into many... See, I'll contort stuff.
Shifting motherfucker.
But yeah, so it was quite interesting where that's the reason why I say hybrid. For some crazy reason, every redhead will put red or something that dealt with their hair. Even though I don't have it, I'm still proud of it. And they'll put that in their handle. So hybrid, R-E-D at the end, right? And on top of that, I'm also kind of like the last that was and the beginning of what is. I was born in 79, so I was the last at what was, and now I am carrying into the future as the beginning of what is. And so that's how I developed hybrid.
There's the hybrid. And the 757?
Oh, the 757? That is actually because hybrid was taken, HYBRED was taken. So I had to use the area code for out here in Virginia. So that's our area code is 757. Sorry, that one wasn't.
All the states, 757 is the one you claim.
I actually have 2 that I claim, but since I live out here in 757, I'm going to claim that. And on top of that, the main one that I was raised in was the 702 Las Vegas, and then here in Virginia, 757. So those are the 2 that I claim.
There you go.
Yes, sir. I was raised on the outskirts of Las Vegas, too, over in Tule Springs. So if anybody out there in Vegas knows anything about it, that's where I was at.
What happened in Vegas? What are you talking about? I don't know about it.
Oh, Vegas, man. Vegas is a beautiful place. Vegas is my home away from home. That is the desert amongst deserts. And at nighttime, it is beautiful out there. The stars are shining. You can see for miles. And at the same time, you got Las Vegas right down the road, which is old Sin City. And in Sin City, that's where everybody goes to lose their house.
And their virginity.
And what happens in Vegas? But yeah, that was on my mom's, 4th marriage. And so the man that she married there, I still call him dad to this day, because he's been one of my biggest father figures in my life. My real dad is too, but that came later on because they had the whole custody battle. So and while he was out here in Virginia, my mom was out there in Vegas and Logandale and Utah and Colorado, all sorts of different places. So wherever she met somebody, she dragged me over to that area.
Man, that's wild. I thought you were moving state to state because of the military.
No, no, that didn't happen till later. That's when, I want to say, when I was about 23, that's when I joined the military. So actually, as a matter of fact, that's when I got divorced for the first time. And the wife that I'm with now, this is my second wife. She is amazing. I cannot say anything bad about this woman. But my first one, that's a whole different story. I learned a lot from that one. Not to say that I was an angel either, because I definitely was not. But I will say this. That's when I started getting into more of the drugs, when I was going downhill with everything. I was making bad choices. I was hanging with the wrong crowds. And the crowds that I was hanging with were street pharmaceutical people that knew their way around certain areas. So on top of that, I was hanging out with certain gang members and things of that nature. I was traveling out to California, picking some stuff up, doing my runs, bringing them into Cedar City, Utah. Yeah. So that was actually a very low point in my life that it was just kind of like, you know what? I can still put that into music. So hopefully people can learn about the evils of what people do. Because out there, I learned a lot about betrayal, a lot about loyalty, a lot about who is your real friend. And especially when you have somebody who is constantly downing you. If you were waking up, let me put it to you this way. If you were waking up every day and you're saying to yourself, today's going to be a new day. Today is going to be my day. Today, I can get past this and we're going to have a good talk today. We're going to have a good time today. You know, and you're sitting there and you're telling yourself this day in and day out and nothing is happening, get out, because you're going to get sucked down further and further to the bottom of the depths, to the point that you're going to either want to commit suicide, because I was there. I was sitting in a tub with a gun in my mouth at one point in time after I just got done doing a fat line. So
Thank you for not doing that.
yeah, so it's one of those things now that how I take stuff like that and I put that into Sinister Rabbit, where Sinister Rabbit is actually not a bad guy. He's an anti-hero.
You're loving what you're hearing from HybRED 757. The darkness, the grit, the raw cinematic horror he brings. Then you're gonna lose your mind when you step deeper into the underground. Slide over to underground-nation.com and discover artists, stories, and creatures crawling up from the shadows. Exclusive interviews, features, and the wildest underground talent. Enter if you dare.
He goes after people who does wrong and that does wrong to people, although he does love to overly kill things. So he does have an appetite for that. But past that, he loves to go after people who are, I want to say, the people that he likes to go after is like not drug trafficker, but it's more along the lines of human trafficking. That's what I was getting at. He loves going after human traffickers. He loves going after people who are cheating in their relationships, who are not loyal to people. He likes to get petty at times. Maybe he just sees you and you just look at him wrong. He'll just be like, you know what? I don't like you. And he just goes, does something. But yeah, that's him. Rory, on the other hand, he's trying to grow up. He's trying to do what's right. He's always got that contradicting thing against Sinister Rabbit, because Sinister Rabbit is kind of like always coaxing him. Hey, let's go over here and do this. Let's do that. Hey, check this out. I brought this person in for you to kill today. Hey, you know, and Rory's like, whoa, stop. I'm not wanting to do this right now. I don't ever want to do this. But then when Rory starts getting his hands bloody and he starts tasting vengeance, then his mind starts altering. And when that starts altering, now he's starting to try to figure out the balance between good and evil, light and dark. And that's when he starts turning to this figure right here, which is Typhon. You know anything about Greek mythology? I don't know if you can see that.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's Typhon, or aka Typhonius. He's from the Greek mythology, you know, with Zeus.
Yeah.
So Zeus and him have battled. And the way that he was created was because Gaia and Tartarus had gotten together and they had created him to take out Zeus and all the other gods for the fact that they took out the Titans. And the Titans was Gaia's children and Tartarus's children. And so they created this beast to rise up and defeat Zeus, and he did. He defeated Zeus. He did. He defeated Zeus and tore out all of his ligaments. And then he put him into another area. I don't know why he didn't have anybody guarding this, but he just tore out all his ligaments and put him into an area. And it took Mercury to come in and take the ligaments, steal them back, and then zip on out of there, go back to Zeus, put him into Zeus, get him healed. And then Zeus was like, all right, it's war. So Zeus was getting ready. All of the gods and goddesses were like, whoa, hold on a second. We're not taking this dude. He damn near killed you last time. You're an immortal, so he took you of all your movement by taking all your ligaments. So we're not fighting this dude. He is the king of monsters. He is everything that is embodied in darkness. When he stands up, he covers the sky of darkness. It's just nothing but fear and terror that you'll feel in his presence. So that made all the other gods flee to Egypt and take different personas, such as like horse and stuff like that. They took on those different looks of all the Egyptian gods. Kind of weird how it all kind of like tingles together.
Yeah, it is. What the heck? I've never heard this story before.
Yeah. And so with when they ended up battling it out the second time, right before they went and battled, Typhon went and talked to some witches, and he was asking for a little bit of extra help because he wanted to just completely destroy Zeus, and was like, you know what? I want him done. I want him reduced to smithereens. So they're like, okay, cool. We got this potion for you. This will kill any god. He said, all right, cool. He drinks it. It made him weaker. They betrayed him. And so even though it made him weaker, he went after Zeus and still fought him for 10,000 years, a 10,000 year battle. And then Zeus finally defeated him and imprisoned him in it's one of three different places, either in Tartarus, I forgot the island name, and then there is Mount Etna, which is right off of the coast of Italy. And Etna is an active volcano to this day. And so my theory is with the Bible, because Greek mythology also is part of the Bible. And then you got the Egyptians. That's part that Jesus has actually went and visited like Egypt and stuff too. And so he's talked to these other gods in Egypt. So for me, I'm just like, okay, cool. So if you take all this and put it together into like one pot with the way that Revelations is, Fawn is going to be the Antichrist that rises up along with Satan out of the sea. It's kind of a crazy theory, but that's my theory.
Crazy theory.
So whenever you hear Rory saying...
Rory, yes, go ahead. You're about to say what I was about to ask.
So whenever you hear Rory saying something like, Father, please do something for me, or Father this or Father that, he's talking to Typhon, and he's asking for extra power. He's asking to be blessed that day, even though he's going out, he's transforming into a monster so he could go kill other monsters. And this is where he's getting his power from.
Wait. So if he's killing other monsters, is he absorbing their energy?
He can. He does get stronger. I'll put it this way. He gets stronger.
Is this the book that you're developing? What is this?
It is a whole storyline that I started developing over time with between Rory and Sinister Rabbit. And Sinister Rabbit's been trying to get him to the ultimate. All right. So the ultimate end game, Sinister Rabbit is really trying to raise Rory and trying to make him understand that this world is a horrible world. And at the same time, there's many beauties in this world where Rory's trying to show Sinister Rabbit where like the beauty lies. But at the same time, he's getting kicked, he's getting dragged down, he's getting beat up, he's getting pushed off the cliffs. Like in one of my short verses that I did, an open verse challenge I did, where I talked about how I got pushed off a cliff. That was a real life thing. So I put that as a Rory, that he got pushed off the cliff and he fell. And when he landed on concrete, he busted his head open. And it was just by a group of kids that all Rory wanted to do was just play. And they're like, nope, we don't want to play with you. And they pushed him off the cliff. And in real life, they did push me off the cliff. I fell down. It was probably about 10 feet, maybe less than that. I want to say anywhere from 6 to 10 feet. Landed on some concrete, busted my head open, and I was knocked out for a little while. Then I woke up, and I was just like, wow, there's just blood everywhere. And then I walked home. I was dazed and confused, but I walked home. You know? And I was probably about, I want to say 7 around that time. And this is the time, you got to remember, when I was growing up, I'm kind of old. So when I was growing up, we were kind of allowed just to go wander around to all the different places. And at that time, I was living in Vegas on Maryland Street, and we had this huge ditch. And this ditch was for like whenever the flash floods came through. And so you go into like the sides of this ditch, there was a bunch of broken concrete. And it was really cool because as a kid, you get to go in there and it's like forts. There's a lot of forts. So you could go in there and be like, oh, this is like a cool little fort that I'm in, right? And you just kind of like hide out and hang out in there, you know, while people will walk above you and they would never know you're there. So
no way.
It was just cool as shit. And so that's where I saw the group of kids and say, hey, you guys want to play? And they're like, no, fuck you. Boom. Pushed me off and then landed on a little concrete pad. And from there, knocked out, woke up and was just like, well, shit. I had blood all over the back of my head. And I was just like, all right, I'm done. Go home. Dazed and confused, you know. And so when stuff like that happened, I put it into the songs. And then Rory starts to slowly, over time, start to hate people. At first, he's trying to love people. Then he's starting to hate people. Then he's starting to get to a point that he starts accepting his fate, where he's supposed to be the Antichrist. He has to go free Typhon. He has to find Typhon to free him from the prison that he's in so he can rise up and start start Revelations.
Holy cat! Well, I cannot wait to. I cannot wait.
I got on my YouTube channel, which is still Hybrid 757 on YouTube. I do have like a small video where Sinister Rabbit is visiting Rory as Rory is older and then helps with his training. Let's put it that way. So there is a video that's out there.
But both of them is really you.
I'm going to let the audience decide that one.
Because you're the hybrid.
Yes. So
these are conversations you're having amongst yourself.
Yes, daily.
What's been the
sucks
most
when you get the third person that interrupts too, and you're just like, dude, stop. And both of you sitting there like, man, stop. And then third person's just like, dude, for real? What am I to do?
Bro, what's been the most cathartic or shocking moment you've experienced while creating this storyline?
All right, Underground Nation, breathe in that darkness and buckle up. It's time for a shadow-soaked music break. Crawling straight out of the cinematic nightmare realm, this next track comes from the one and only HybRED 757. Turn the lights down, turn the volume up, and let the horrorcore energy take over your speakers. This is HybRED 757 with Halloween.
Oh man, I would have to say, as I started digging deeper into this, it started bringing out a lot of emotions as a kid. And like I ended up writing that certain song about, I'm just going to put it out this way. When I was 4 to 5 years old, when I was living in Jersey, even though I said, go listen to the song, you get to go listen to the song for the details. But my stepsister, she would rate and she would make me do things to her. And so whenever everybody was gone, she would take me up into my stepbrother's room. And that's where she would make me perform on her. Now, listen to the rest of the song and you'll understand more of the gory details behind that. But to start facing stuff like that, and then you start going down this memory lane and you start remembering all this stuff that you just blocked out for so many years, it all comes back and hits you at once. And I have spent time, and it's kind of funny because I don't cry, but I started crying like a baby during some of this stuff. And I was just like, man, this is actually relieving. Being able to get it out there, and then I could take Sinister Rabbit and he can just do whatever he wants with them. And he's just like, all right, cool. You know what? Now that's a way that I could kill them off in my mind without having to do it in real life.
That's it. I'm glad that you found that outlet.
Yes. It's honestly, I wasn't really going to do any kind of rapping to begin with all this. When I first started out doing any of this all started out with me being a video creator where I was just like shooting music videos for other artists that were within the area. And one of my best friends that's out here, he kind of would help me out with the shooting of the videos and stuff. And then he kind of like taught me some of the ins and outs of the camera. And then if you ever want to look him up on Instagram or it's Sweet Daddy. It's Sweet and then DDY for Daddy. That's my boy Sweet right there. That dude, he's been in the game for years and knows the ins and outs with a lot of this stuff. And honestly, he kind of taught me, actually, I can't say he pulled me to the side and was like, dude, we got to get you on here rapping, especially with you being able to do all the different voices and stuff. And I was like, all right, cool, let's try it. And that's how it started. Now, with Sinister Rabbit, there was a video where the person that I was doing music videos for, which is actually Sweet's son, what was it? He was going after Dax. No, he was going after, there was another dude besides Dax. Because they, at the beginning, Scarface Gene, I think that's his name, Scarface Gene. At first, Scarface was like dissing Dax because of some weird thing that was going on. And then the dude that I was doing the filming for, he was all trying to get in Dax's good graces or whatever. So he just likes to start spitting out, oh, no. I'm sorry, it was Upchurch. My bad. Because he was in Upchurch's good graces at that time. And so he was trying to do like a bunch of diss tracks for Upchurch and stuff. And so he went after Scarface Gene. And so in one of them, Scarface ended up doing a Dax diss. So the way that we ended up having to do this diss video was we made Scarface look like Dax when he was doing the diss with Dax with the clown hair and stuff like that, right? And so, anyways, that's when Sinister Rabbit first pops out, and you see Sinister Rabbit jumping out of a vehicle, running after dude, hit him with the bat, and then he wakes up and he's tied to a chair. That's the first time you'll ever see Sinister Rabbit. And then after that was the first time anybody ever saw Sinister Rabbit. That was the first time I created that character. And then I was like, you know what? I really love this character because the character at that point in time was named Karma. And I was like, you know what? I really like Karma. And whenever I'm going to go after anybody, I'll use Karma as the person that goes after. And then after a while, I was like, I don't like the name Karma. I'm just going to turn him into something different. And that's when I came up with Sinister Rabbit. I was like, you know what? This actually fits a whole lot better. And so it began. The terror began.
Terror is here.
Yes.
How can new listeners that are just hearing about this right now learn more about this storyline and hear more of the music and all the craziness you're explaining to me?
So a lot of the stuff, if you go to my also on my Instagram, both HybRED 757. If you go to those and you listen to a lot of the open verse challenges, I kind of continue the storyline through the open verse challenges. And then it gets to some of the songs that I have out there, which, let's see, everything is HybRED 757. So if you listen to Spotify, HybRED 757, Apple Music, all that's HybRED 757. And so there's a bunch of different storylines in there. But if you really want to go down to the beginnings of it, I would say it would be the Dax diss by T-Rev 757. That it would be the Dax diss by T-Rev. And then that would be the first time that you guys get to see him. And then after that, it would be all the different, I can't believe my mind keeps going blank.
There's a lot going on in that brain.
It is. It's just like this big storm of everything. You know, it's like a word pops up and you're like, gotta grab that word. But you're like, oh shit, I forgot what I just grabbed. So anyways, the open verse challenges. If you go back through a lot of the open verse challenges, you'll start to hear like the beginnings of how Sinister Rabbit was created and how he was formed. And then it'll start going into the different songs. One of the biggest songs that I got out there right now is called Lil Rory 2. And that actually takes place when I was in Wyoming. My mom was married to her fifth husband at that time. And so, and this is when we was living in Casper, Wyoming. And so during that time, I had a stepbrother who we were constantly fighting every day. It was kind of like the movie Step Brothers, if you think about it, because like I was with my mom, he was with his dad, and we're about the same age. We get to meet for the first time, and the first time we meet, we start fighting. Just instantly start fighting. I got my ass whipped all the time, but it was just constantly fighting. And so, like, even one day, he had me, I thought we was actually being cool at one point. He's like, hey, you want to go shoot my dad's guns? I was like, all right, cool, yeah, let's go shoot the guns. And so we was off the back porch. Now, mind you, we were out in Casper, Wyoming. The area that we were at had like 40 acres. It was way out in the country. There really wasn't anybody else around. So we were able to set up some targets and just shoot. Now, I got done unloading the gun that I had, and we had like the old revolvers. And so we had some shotguns and some old revolvers. And then he took his dad's gun. And once he realized that I was out, he turns around and aims it right at me. He goes, I want you to go out there in the field and start running. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, nope. And he cocks it back and he says, I will fucking kill you right here. He had me out there running while he's shooting his gun at me. And he gets done, there was about 6 rounds in there. And then he ends up loading in some more and it starts going to town. I'm crying like a bitch, running around just crying. And I'm just like, stop, Quinn, stop. But he was just like, nope, that was entertainment to him. Every day that he could wake up and do something, that was entertainment until...
Need custom merch that makes your brand stand out? Smokin' Barrel Apparel has you covered. From screen printing and embroidery to promo gear for your next event, we bring your vision to life. Trusted by artists, businesses, and creators across the underground nation. Visit smokinba.com today and gear up with style. Smokin' Barrel Apparel. Wear your brand. Live your grind. Proud sponsor of the Underground Nation podcast.
This is when we started getting into like the drugs and Lil Rory too. This is where you'll hear the first thing that pops off is I say, I'm sitting in the basement with the mask over my face and it's a face plant because I'm inhaling the smoke, right? And so it's like back in the day, we kind of made up our own way to smoke. So we had like this gas mask and then we had like a 5-gallon bucket, you fill it with some water and then you take like a bleach bottle. Of course, you got to wash everything out and you cut it in half and then, or you cut the bottom off of it and you take the top and you turn it into a bowl, but then you can hook a tube to the top of it and you slam it down after you light it and you slam it down and it like lights the weed up and then you get all that smoke, or you got to blow into it and then you take it off and then you got to slam it down and then it shoves all the smoke up into your lungs. And dude, you get so fucked. Can I say that? I'm sorry, my bad. If you can't. Anyways, yeah, we would get fucked up, right? So this is when we started bonding. It is because we started smoking together. And then it started going from there. And that's when we started getting into, one of my friends his mom was a nurse. So she had this book. And in that book, it talked about all the descriptions of prescription drugs and the over-the-counter drugs. So we were like, okay, cool. We want to hallucinate today. What do we want to get? So we started flipping through this little book. And we're like, oh, shit, Dramamine. All right, let's see, going through. Oh, shit, it says 19 to 20 pills, and it will make you hallucinate. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And so that's what we do. We go to the store, and we go steal a box of Dramamine. And then we go back out, go to my friend's house, and then go into the basement, and that's where we'd be doing all that shit. We just stoners, basically. Just having a great time, doing some drugs as kids. And we got to a point where we're like, hey, let's start making each other pass out. So we was trying to, we found out, doing the blood chokes on each other and make each other pass out. And it was just to see how long you can, stay awake before you pass out, which was actually pretty cool. You get about 3 to 4 seconds, and then you're just out cold.
I don't like that game.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun until you don't have the support and somebody drops you and you wake up and your nose is bleeding. You got blood everywhere. You're like, oh, shit. But yeah, so.
I don't want to play. Man, I'm really glad that he didn't actually shoot you when you were freaking running out in the field. Could you imagine if he fucked up? He could have fucked up. Mm-hmm. But thank God he didn't.
Hell no. So, yeah.
That's wild.
Little Rory 2 is definitely a good starting point if you want to get into the Little Rory series. Because I also even have a bit of a video to go behind it. So there's a little AI video that's behind it.
Earlier you said you weren't even going to rap. And
yes.
And I mean, I'm not sure what films or what, but I understand you were getting involved in acting. You were freaking fighting fires, racing cars, overseas, bro. I'm like, so what made you decide, fine, I'm just gonna do this rap thing with With you, bro.
All right, so going from wildland firefighting to going into the army to Iraq, getting here to this point, I have always loved filming. And again, back in my childhood, I would do some films with some of my childhood friends. We would actually make little skits and stuff with the big ass camcorders back then. So that had always stayed in the back of my mind. When I ended up getting out of the army, I got medically retired. It's just a little over 9 years. And moving out here, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to take up some acting. I want to do something different. So I actually started doing the music videos. And when I started hearing a bunch of other people rapping, I was just kind of like, man, you know what? I think I can do that. I've always kind of wanted to do that when I was young. And I was raised off of hip hop as a kid because my parents loved to listen to the old school country and everything. Or my mom loved the old school country. And then whoever she dated was generally a cowboy. And so that's all that they would listen to. And I can't stand country. So sorry for all the country people out there. Not bad, but I can't do it. So, anyways, that's when I started getting into like hip hop when I was young. And of course, you know, you start out with like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and you got trying to think of the kids' names, Crisscross. You know, you had Crisscross, and then I got into like NWA, and then I always felt like there's something is missing. I want something harder. It wasn't until I got into, I want to say, high school when I started listening to Brother Lynchung when that was introduced to me. So I was going to high school out here, and I went back to Vegas to go visit one of my childhood friends. And he brought up Brother Lynchung. He's like, dude, you gotta listen to this guy. I was like, all right, cool. So I started listening to him. I'm like, oh yeah, EBK every day, all day to the day I die. Creeping through your set with a Mini Mac 10 Air R15, Ruger 12 gauge pump in the back of the trunk. It's Black Beanie disguise. You know, so I was just like, fuck yeah, you know what? I like this dude. And then lo and behold, he was also rapping with Doomsday Productions. I started listening to Doomsday Productions, which was out of Northtown, Las Vegas. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be back out west. I'm going to be repping Vegas with Doomsday Productions. And so, like, Warfare is one of my favorite songs off the album Filthy. And Eclipse, that was my main dude. That was the dude that I loved because he had that crazy sound. And so, in a sense, my sound is kind of like a combination between Eclipse and ICP because later on I got to start listening to ICP. I want to say around 98 when I was, no, 90, 97, 98, I was introduced to ICP, and that would be the Great Malenko album. And so the Ned Game. And so that's where I started listening to that. And then I remember, Halls of Horror. Remember that song? I remember the first time, Boogeyman and Halls of Horror were my favorite ones. And I remember listening to them. I was like, I love the storytelling in this. And it's always kind of stuck in the back of my head that I want to do storytelling like that. And then, so fast forward, sorry, I just went a huge like loop all the way to get to here.
We're here.
We're here finally. So now that 2018 rolls up, I'm starting to do this filming and everything, and I'm listening to all these people rapping. And the people that I'm hearing rapping at that time is, I want to say, more like, what do they call that? What do they call the genre? Not hip hop. It's a country rapping thing.
Country rapping thing.
Yeah, I forgot the name. I forgot what genre, what they call it.
It's called country rap.
Yeah. So, anyways, you got the whole country rapping going on, and supposedly, like, Upchurch is one of the main independent artists who really put that on the map. And of course, you had other people before him, like Bubba Sparks. You know, with was it Ugly when he took off with that, and that was the first time I heard like a rapper do some country style stuff, and I was like, all right, that's cool. But then when I started hearing a lot of the country rappers do their thing, I was like, man, a lot of this stuff is just basic. Sorry, dudes, but it was. And so I was just kind of like, okay. And I'm sitting here listening to Trev, and he's just going like 100 miles an hour with his rap. He's up, and like this dude can spit off the top of his dome like crazy. And he comes out with bars and all sorts of stuff. I'm like, this dude is 20 times better than everybody that he's like conversing with. And this is really becoming a thing. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so in a way, it kind of inspired me a little bit because I was like, you know what? If I'm watching somebody right in front of me start to build an audience and start to do this stuff. And he's starting to get more well known. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do something. And maybe let's try to see what direction I could go with that first. And so then when I first started rapping, I was trying to do the whole car thing because I was like, you know what? How about let me talk about something that I really know about? Street racing is something I know about because that's something that was a life that I lived. And that's when, like, between before Fast and Furious came out, I was out there street racing back in, I want to say, 98. I was back street racing during that time. And so when I went back out to Vegas, man, it was huge out there. We would go to these car meets, and these car meets were packed with like 300 cars. And most of them were like all the little rice rockets and stuff, little rice burners. And so that's what we call it in the car culture if it's like an import. And so, anyways, you had like all the Hondas out there and stuff like that. And one of my buddies knew somebody who had a really fast Honda at that time. And that Honda was actually an Acura. And so we were waiting in this parking lot. I had a Jeep Cherokee at that time. And we were waiting in this parking lot to see where everybody's going to go for the race for when it happens. So we were chilling in the parking lot. They finally got told, hey, we got a clear opening over in location A, location B, location C. And so one of the main locations was at that time, I can guarantee you it's changed by now. But at that time, it was the golf course.
Underground Nation, hold tight, we're diving straight into the abyss. The next track comes from an artist forged in chaos, sharpened by war, and fueled by pure cinematic darkness. If you're ready to step deeper into the shadows, this one's for you. Turn it all the way up and let the void swallow the room. This is HybRED 757 with his track, Underworld.
And so we kind of like just all get together, swarm up, and just go to this golf course way out in the middle of nowhere. And it was like on the outskirts of Vegas. And so they had this nice stretch. And we would have all the cars lined up, like you saw in the movie, all the cars lined up. And then you'd have like 2 cars that just go at a time. And of course, you had the person who was in the middle, and then they like drop their arms and then they go, right? So my friend was like, dude, you should like try doing this. I was like, are you serious? Mind you, I have a Jeep Cherokee, all right? I got a hole in the muffler, and I went and I fabricated my intake, my cold air intake out of, what's that stuff called? It's for it's a sheet metal for your gutter system. So I fabricated a cold air intake out of that, right? So it's kind of funny. So I had this cold air intake, and my Jeep is loud as shit, but it sounds horrible because I have a hole in the muffler. But it's the straight 6 that was in it. I had an '89 Cherokee, and at that time, what's that?
No, I was just saying, holy shit.
Yeah, and I also had a badass stereo system in it at that time too, because Planet Audio just came out with a whole line of like speakers and amps and stuff, and so I had 312 sitting in the back of it with a 900 watt amp and another 800 watt. So this thing was bumping too. And anyways, I was nervous as shit. I was like, dude, you know what? How about you come with me? So this way you can just like, keep me calm. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first race, and so. The guy that I was going against, I remember his name. His name was Ray. Ray had a Dodge Durango RT at that time. The RTs were supposed to have been known to be able to do like a quarter in 13 seconds. So here I am in my little Jeep Cherokee with the straight 6. He's in his Dodge Durango RT, and we're getting lined up. And the lady raises her hands and then drops. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. Push the gas down. My truck's doing this. I'm like, oh shit, and mine was manual at the time too. And I was so nervous that I kind of like stuttered, but I got on top of it and I started rolling through my gears, and I was keeping up with this thing, and I just barely beat it by a nose. And when I did that, we got done. We circled back down to the beginning of the track, and then we went and parked. And Ray came over to me. He's like, man, what do you got in that thing? I was like, I don't know. It's just the stock motor with this fabricated cold air intake from the gutter system and a hole in my muffler. That's all I got. And he's like, man, Andrew got 312s back here. Dude, you spanked the shit out of me. How? He's like, I'm about to go get this Durango up. And so it was cool as shit because every time that we went to these car meets, we would always meet up with Ray and his crew, and then we'd always roll out to the different meets and stuff, and that's how I started getting into it. Then once I got into, let's say, around 2010, I was able to pick it back up again because that's when I got my GTO. That's when I went out to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and the crew that I was rolling with out there was called Outlaws X. And so we would just go around terrorizing everybody. And like my car was one of those that you wanted to test first before you test the rest of the crew, because I was sitting at like 430 horsepower. At that time, 430 horsepower was actually quite a lot for any vehicle. And so it was loud, and it was fast. But I was also like the slowest in my group too. Everybody else's cars were much faster. We're talking about it went on to an upwards of like 800 horsepower. Now it's kind of funny because my car sits at 800 horsepower with same GTO, by the way. Sits at 800 horsepower with my nitrous and E85 with the supercharger on it. And my next buddy up from me, he's got a 1300 horsepower SS. So like a lot of people I know that are out here, a lot of them have these amazing, crazy ass cars. And mine's one of the slower ones. But so anyways, getting into that life and being able to do the things that I was doing, it was amazing. It was the adrenaline that I loved, the sound of the cars, the smell of the gas, the smell of the exhaust, everything about it. Work on the cars, the bonds that you make with everybody. It was just amazing. It really is like a family. And so we were constantly going out, like every weekend. We would go out to like the next town over and just go pick a race with somebody or pick a fight, or when I say pick a fight, it's pick a race. And we would go out to like Houston and go out there and go challenge people and stuff too. And oh man, it was cool as shit. We were racing all over the place. And so that's why I wanted to kind of bring it back in. I wanted people to kind of like remember my name on who I was back then, although I wasn't that big. In my head, I was big, but I wasn't that big. And so I wanted people to remember who Jason was. who the GTO guy was. And so I actually kind of helped create a community out here called 757 LSX. And we got over 2,000 members in it now. It's a Facebook group, but it's something that we started to create a community out here to help build up shops in the area, to get people, to help people if somebody is stranded on the side of the road. They get on the forum, hey, I need help. I'm stuck over here. And I've seen people go to these places to help people out. People got together and started forming groups where they go out and like plow the snow off of like rural areas and stuff, or out in the neighborhoods. And they were trying to do good, which was actually really cool about building this community. We help build up shops. One of the main shops that supports me is Bad Company. So shout out to Bad Company.
Company, whoop whoop.
Yeah, whoop whoop. And so when I started doing the rapping, I was like, okay, let me start doing this stuff. And as I was getting into the rapping with it, I started getting myself into trouble. And so I had to kind of back off before I lost my retirement and got thrown in jail, because now if you get caught street racing, it's a federal offense. And so I kind of used my last of what I could use, which is like, I had a clean record. And on this last thing, I want to say at the beginning of the year, that's when everything kind of really switched back up. And I was like, okay, let me start leaning back into the Rory and Sinister Rabbit route. Because as I'm out here, like doing the rapping with the cars and doing the stuff with the street racing, I damn near got myself in trouble. So, and yeah, I did get pulled over. I did get a ticket. And the crazy part is when I got pulled over, I wasn't doing anything at that time. But I had to go get a lawyer. The judge was like, or I went and got the lawyer. The lawyer told me, he's like, look, they're going to believe the cop no matter what. So basically what the cop told the judge was, yes, they were on the highway. They were street racing. I saw them. And I'm just like, fuck. All right, well, he's definitely going to believe the judge now. The judge is definitely going to believe him now, because he's like, yeah, I saw them. And then he's like, first of all, I heard him because my car is extremely loud. So, of course, he heard me he said it was about a mile away. And the way that the road comes in, it came in at an angle and then it kind of like scoops back up. So he's sitting on this side where he could just watch everything going on. And anyways, he turned around. He's like, I couldn't tell who was winning. And the judge is like, so how fast do you think he's going? And he goes, well, maybe like 100 or so. And I was just kind of like, cool, don't ask me how fast I went, because I'm not going to say shit. I'm just sitting there silent the whole time. I'm just kind of looking at my lawyer, and he's just kind of like, you're all right. And I'm just kind of like, okay. And, I ended up getting off with having to pay the fine. And the judge was like, okay, well, we'll just reduce it since you didn't have it on radar. That's the thing that saved me. He didn't have it on radar. And that was the biggest reason why I went and got the lawyer. But the lawyer was just kind of like, well, the judge is going to side with the cop anyways. So the best thing that we could do is just get you 19 over. I was like, you know what? Keep me out of jail. All right, cool. So that's how that was going. And then that's how that ended.
That's how it ended. And then you decided to stick with the rapping for life.
Yep, I sure did. And so my biggest goal right now is the job that I do have. I'm just utilizing that to try to help pay off whatever stuff that I got, to the point that once I get all my debt out of the way, then I could just go full bore into everything, because I do have my other retirement from the Army as well. So, and that's from the medical retirement side. So since I have that to fall back on, once I get this debt cleared, then I'll be able to get out and do a whole bunch more stuff.
Until then, what can we expect next?
Oh, well, for starters, I do have a movie that's out. It's on YouTube called Fastlanders Film. And myself and a few of my best friends out here, we all got together. We created this kick-ass film about a post-apocalyptic world where to do something for your community or your section, you have to race for it. And being able to race for it, that means racing for power, such as electricity for your section. And if you don't get that power, you are bound to starve, you are bound to die. And so you got to race for it. And the world is ran by corporations. It's kind of like how everything is going to this day. So you know how you got people, what is his name? Mike Lore. He is the Walmart CEO, like billionaire. that bought up some land. I forgot where he bought it, but he bought up the land. And you can look this up too. Fact check me on that. He bought up land, and it was like 250,000 acres, so that this way he can start his own smart city. And it's a bunch of these billionaires that are buying up all this land so that they can create these smart cities and start grouping people into these cities and basically make it to where we cannot live on the outside anymore. Where they're starting to move us all towards the cities now. And it's conspiracy, but at the same time, it's actual stuff that's happening because these smart cities are in development. And so the way that Fastlanders is, it takes place where the smart cities have all developed. Anybody who is on the outside of the city, you are in a wasteland environment. You are at the peak of that, just fighting for scraps. Whatever the city is going to give you, that's what you're fighting for, is scraps. And so, in a way, it's kind of like Death Race meets Hunger Games. The best way that I can probably describe it. And anyways, with the way that everything is going, with the smart cities, the fuel, like fossil fuels, are going to be banned from these smart cities. And that's like Mark Lure saying he wants to ban all the fossil fuels. So everything is going to be ran off of electric. In Fastlanders, that's how the cities are. Everything is electric. And everything that is banned is on the outskirts, and that's where they're saying that all the pollution and all the bad things are happening. And so the smart cities are trying to keep everybody organized. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of all the bad, and we're going to make everybody into basically like clones in a sense. And so they're going to have their own access, their own everything inside these cities where everything's basically kept off of like your smartphone. That's how you get tracked for everything. That's where all your knowledge is at to this day. So you go to the outskirts of the city, you go into the wastelands, you don't get access to that stuff anymore. You have to fend for yourself. And that's how Fastlanders is.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
How did that grind prepare you for music production today?
Sound editing. So if you listen to a lot of my music, you'll hear a bunch of different sounds in the background. And a lot of that comes from having to do this film from Fastlanders. This film took us 5 years to complete. And in there, we had to do so many different sounds because we didn't always have the mics, where we were still learning we're still learning the microphones and stuff of that nature and trying to develop the sound for it. So that's when you start going to like the different forums or the different websites, and you're collecting little sound bites so you can have somebody walking across the floor. You make them sound like they're up close and then they're walking far away. And then, you can hear the breathing, you can hear different things. But whenever you watch a movie, listen to the sound, and they usually have only maybe like 4 to 5 different sounds at one time. They don't have a whole bunch of everything going on. It's only about 4 to 5 sounds at a time. And this way it zones in on the exact thing that they're doing at that time. So in my music, I started challenging myself. Why don't I create the story to make it sound like an audiobook? So it's like a musical audio horror book when you listen to it. And that's how I was able to develop that sound for it.
Incredible. Wow. That's a whole lot, man, to take in.
Yes, sir. It's a lot of information, big information dump. Here you go.
But HybRED, you've lived through war, heartbreak, and now rebirth. What's the biggest life lesson that defines HybRED 757 today?
The biggest thing that defines HybRED 757, I would have to say, be open to change, adapt, and overcome. Because if you are not open to change and something comes along in your life, then all of a sudden everything is chaos. You can control that chaos around you by only being able to know what you can control around you. Don't try to control other people. Don't put expectations onto people. You put expectations onto somebody, you are going to fail every time, or they are going to fail you every time because they're not going to come through with that expectation. And especially if they don't know what that expectation is that you're putting on them. So constantly be open for evolving.
Absolutely. Evolution is real.
Yes, sir.
HybRED, any shout outs, thank yous, or anything we forgot to promote, please take this time to shine.
So first of all, I definitely have to say Bad Company for always supporting me. And then I have to give shout outs to LA. Yeah, that's my boy right there. That's my best friend, LA. He's always been in almost every movie that we've done. I used to do scare performance with him out in Busch Gardens. and being able to do the acting out there was amazing. I have to give a shout out to my wife. Oh my God, she has to deal with me day in and day out. So definitely big shout out to her.
Whoop to HybRED's wife.
Yes. And then there's a long list of people. Sully Beats is definitely one of them. I'm signed to Sully Beats at the moment. Then I also have Unpredictable, 2Tex10.
There you have it, HybRED 757. Big respect to you for pulling back the curtain on this journey and showing that creativity can rise from any battlefield.
Oh yeah.
If you like, follow, and subscribe to our guest on all social streaming platforms. And don't forget to visit underground-nation.com to discover more artists making noise beneath the surface. And yo, the Christmas 2025 issue of Underground Nation magazine is dropping soon, and there's still time to get featured. So tap in, share your story, and get that underground spirit alive. Until next time, it's your host with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie, reminding y'all that even in the darkest corners, the music still glows. Thank you, HybRED 757.
Woo woo.
Yeah, whoop, whoop.
Appreciate you.
That was another killer episode of the Underground Nation podcast with your host, with a ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our guests on all social and streaming platforms, and show your support for the Underground at underground-nation.com, where real music lives, loud and proud. Until next time, keep it raw, keep it heavy, and keep it underground.